Carani, a marketing intern for Physicians Immediate Care. A typical day for me depended on where I was going to be working that day. For example, if I was working in the marketing department, I would come into the office, sit down at my desk, and immediately log into our company's Facebook page. There, I would check to see if we had any new direct messages, comments from clients, or complaints or bad reviews of anything. It was my job to respond to those reviews and let my boss know what was going on. When I was done with that, I would do any other tasks that my supervisors asked me to do. Working in the referrals department was a very different atmosphere than working for marketing. Their part of the office was located down a separate hallway, which allowed them to be much louder and more vocal than the other parts of the office. Once I was settled, I would report to Amelia, head of the referrals department. She would give me as much work as she could, and when I was done, I would then go to Sandra. After I was done completing work for Sandra, I went to Laura. I went through this order every single day I worked for the referrals department, and always made sure I could get as much done as possible because it is incredibly busy in their end of the office. My work for the referrals team involved receiving patient information, calling the medical office that they requested to be scheduled at, and seeing if the patient had yet been scheduled. If they hadn't, I would then schedule for the patient and then report back to the patient to see if that time worked for them. If it didn't, typically it was on the patient to reschedule for them, but generally it worked out and the patients were very thankful for our work. Our referrals department lost 2 members of the team during my time in there, all within a week's period. This left an already busy department completely drowning in work and yet still trying to stay afloat. It was a very stressful work environment, but the women always managed to stay positive and welcoming whenever I came to help them out. Even though to me it seemed like the work I was doing was very repetitive and not very impactful, they reminded me every day that my work was super appreciated and that they wouldn't know where they would be if they didn't have an extra person helping out. My favorite part of the internship was completing clinic audits. My job doing these audits was to go to each of our 43 clinic locations and complete a series of tasks. Clinic days varied on how far away the clinic was and how many clinics I was planning on visiting that day. Some of our clinics were over 3 hours away, out in Highland and Mishawaka, Indiana. Although it was a long drive, I thought it was very worth it because I got to see the different dynamic between our Indiana and our Illinois clinics. When I first enter a clinic, my biggest task is to make sure that everything looks good aesthetically. For example, right when you enter, the open sign should be turned on even if it's during the daytime. This can be seen from the street and is very important that patients see it when they come in. Next, I make sure that there are no non-PIC materials in the clinic, such as business cards from other people and/or promotional items. I also have to check to make sure that there are no handmade signs in the clinics because these look very unprofessional. Next, I go to the front desk to drop off crayons and coloring pages from corporate. This is the first summer trying out coloring pages, and so far it's been a huge success in all of our clinics in keeping kids occupied while they're waiting to be seen. After that, I check to make sure our clockwise screens are functioning appropriately. It is very important that I make sure that everything that needs to be done with the screens is done while I'm in the clinic because we have no control of them back at the corporate office. Typically, the only error with the clockwise screens is that they're not in full screen mode, which is a very simple fix. Occasionally, we will have screens displaying an error message. This means that there's an issue with the URL. I come to the clinics with a master URL list, so typically I'm able to fix the problem right on the spot. If I can't fix it, I'll call my supervisor and let her know what's going on, and she'll handle it from there. Once I'm sure that everything's up to date in the front half of the clinics, I go into the back where the patients are actually seen. All I need to do there is make sure that providers are up to date with their pharmacy savings cards and that there are no unlaminated signs around in the back of the building. Again, this is just to make sure that we look professional at all time and that we're getting our name out as much as possible. I also check to make sure that the music is not too loud and that there's no other minor cosmetic things that I could fix. I took an interesting path in order to obtain this internship. It actually starts out with my mom, in our Elgin clinic where she works as a provider. One day, Jimmy Quattrocki, one of our marketing team members, came in to deliver free stuff. My mom, knowing that I was a marketing major, asked him if he had any room for extra help. He told me that I could apply to be a community coordinator, which was my job that I had all of last summer. Fast forward to the winter of this year, we reached out to Maureen Kirchen, my supervisor now, and asked if she had any available internship positions. She told me that they were looking for people and to submit my resume that she would submit to Todd Vang, our head of marketing. After a series of email and a strong review from Jimmy, my former boss at Physicians, I was offered the position of summer marketing intern. By the end of my internship, I realized that the way I approach tasks changed since I started at the company. I've always been a very inquisitive person, and if I don't know what's going on, I'm going to ask somebody for help. But since starting working at Physicians, specifically working in the referrals department where it's so crazy busy all the time, I've learned that people don't always have time to stop and ask you questions, and a future employer is going to want me to be able to figure things out on my own. So that's exactly what I did. Now I know that if there's a problem to face, typically there's a pretty easy solution. I just need to dig a little bit deeper to find it. I quickly noticed that there was a very big difference between me and the other two interns in the office, specifically when it came to workload. From my perspective, it seemed like I had a much more diverse workload than the other two interns did, which I loved because I liked all the different experiences that I got. The only reason that I got the opportunity to help out in the referrals department is because I asked if they needed any help. I also noticed that the other two interns kept to themselves a little bit more, both working with their headphones in and keeping their heads down. Nothing wrong with that, just a different strategy. An experience at Truman that I had last year that prepared me for not only this internship, but also any other job I may have, happened in my rhetoric class last semester. We were doing a major semester-long group project that our professor had insisted we should not put off until the last minute. Unfortunately, my group did not practice it like we should have before we presented and assumed that we would all just be fine. One of the girls in my group presented for about half of the allotted time because we hadn't run through it yet, and because of this, the entire group lost points. This relates back to the workforce because I represent the entire company. If I make a mistake, it's going to affect everybody, not just me. When I walk into a place wearing this polo or saying, "Hi, I'm Maria from Physicians Immediate Care," they're immediately associating me with that entire company. Every time I stepped into a clinic wearing this red polo, I knew that I was representing the company. My time in public speaking at Truman truly helped me in this experience because I was able to walk into each building very confidently and well-spoken like now. Additionally, it helped me when speaking on the phone with patients and with medical offices because I needed to be able to very clearly communicate what I was trying to say and make them comfortable when speaking to me. One of the biggest things I'm going to take away from this internship is that there are so many opportunities in the world that are available if you just ask. All of the projects that I received are because I asked if there was any help or I asked if I could be more involved in that because I'm young and I'm curious and I don't entirely know what I want to do when I grow up. I think after this summer, when it comes to looking to the future, if I get another chance to do another internship, if I can, I would love to do this one again. But I also would be open to doing something in a totally different field. Like I learned from working in marketing and referrals, there's so many different aspects of the business world that I don't even know about. I think it'd be interesting to check those out and see what there is for me out there. Probably one of the biggest things I'm going to take away from this internship is that marketing is not all just being out there and saying, "Hey, look at my product, look at this cool service we do." A lot of it is making sure that little things don't slip through the crack, which I had no idea about. There are so many different aspects from what I did as a community coordinator last summer, being out on the field, telling people about what we do, to making sure that all of our ads are appearing properly on our clockwise screens actually within the clinics. It's so broad and vast, and I'm excited to learn about the different ways as I continue my education at Truman and through further internships.